Actual test.
Number 1. In this question, you will be asked to talk about a familiar topic. After you hear the question, you will have 15 seconds to prepare your response and 45 seconds to speak.
What is the most influential invention in the last 100 years? Please include specific examples and details in your explanation. Please begin speaking after the beep.
Number 2. In this question, you will be asked to give an opinion about a familiar topic. After you have the question, you will have 15 seconds to prepare your response and 45 seconds to speak.
Some people enjoy watching television. Others prefer to read the newspaper or use the internet. Which activity do you prefer to do and why? Use specific reasons and examples to support your preference. Please begin speaking after the beep.
Number 3. In this question, you will read a short passage about a campus situation and then listen to a talk on the same topic. You will then answer using information from both the reading passage and the talk. After you hear the question, you will have 30 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak.
A university has decided to change its regulations on students living in the dormitories. Read the announcement about the change. You will have 45 seconds to read the announcement. Begin reading now. Now listen to two students as they discuss the event.
Talk about annoying. I can't believe I'm going to have to live on campus next year. I can't stand the dorms.
Well, I rather like the idea. It would be nice not to have to pay for another increase in housing fees. I've had to pay more and more every semester, and it's not easy on my wallet. Frankly, it's becoming quite a burden.
Okay, I can understand that. But I was living at home. That's free. I shouldn't be punished by having to live in a dormitory.
Yeah, but there may be exceptions to the rule. You should look into that.
You're right.
However, I do like the idea of getting everyone to participate in extracurricular activities.
But you don't do any activities yourself.
That's true, but the reason is that nobody else has been doing them. Now, since it looks like more people will be getting involved, I'll probably sign up for a couple of clubs or maybe join an intramural sports team.
It sounds like you're going to be busy.
Now get ready to answer the question. The man expresses his opinion of the university's regulation on living in the dormitories. State his opinion and explain the reasons he gives for holding that opinion. Please begin speaking after the beep.
Number 4. In this question, you will read a short passage on an academic subject and then listen to a talk on the same topic. You will then answer a question using information from both the reading passage and the talk. After you hear the question, you will have 30 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak.
Now read the following passage about sampling error. You have 45 seconds to read the passage. Begin reading now. Now listen to part of a lecture on this topic in a statistics class. As you listen, be sure to take notes.
When reading surveys or studies, it's integral that you pay attention to the sampling error. No studies are perfect, but scientists try making them as perfect as possible. And the sampling error records the chance of error inherent in the study. For example, I read about a scientist trying to determine the average size of the fish in a local lake. What did he do? He went out in a boat with a net, caught some fish, and measured them to determine their average size. However, his net was too big, so he couldn't catch any really small fish. Therefore, his study wasn't truly accurate, was it? He had to provide a sampling error to let readers know how accurate or inaccurate his research was. Also, it's an election year, so there are lots of political surveys nowadays. Did you notice that survey where the presumed front-runner for president was running neck and neck with the other candidates? However, every other survey has him listed at least 12 points ahead. What happened? Well, the survey was done during the afternoon. This means that, since it was a phone survey calling people's homes, the survey got answers from a disproportionate number of housewives. It wasn't a truly random sample of the population. That's why it had a larger than usual sampling error.
Now get ready to answer the question. The professor describes the results of 2 recent surveys. Explain how the results are related to sampling error. Please begin speaking after the beep.
Number 5. In this question, you will listen to a conversation. You will then be asked to talk about the information in the conversation and to give your opinion about the ideas presented. After you hear the question, you will have 20 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak.
Now listen to a conversation between 2 students.
I can't believe it. You'll never guess what happened to me.
I give up. Tell me.
I was supposed to go on a picnic with my volunteer group this Sunday, so I went ahead and bought a bus ticket to the place we're going. But apparently the picnic's been canceled and I can't get a refund on my ticket.
That's too bad. What are you going to do then?
Well, the ticket costs a lot, so I ought to use it. I know there's a nice waterfall near that area, so perhaps I'll go hiking there on Sunday.
Really? I heard on the news that it's going to get cold this weekend. You might not want to be outdoors all day long.
Oh, I hadn't heard that. In that case, if the weather doesn't cooperate, I guess I could always visit that art museum which is on the bus route. I haven't ever been there before, so it would be kind of nice to look at some of the exhibits.
Normally I'd agree with you, but the museum's actually undergoing renovations right now, so only half of its exhibitions are open to the public, and all that construction might be too noisy for you.
Well, that's not good to hear.
Now get ready to answer the question. The students discuss 2 possible solutions to the woman's problem. Describe the problem, then state which of the 2 solutions you prefer and explain why. Please begin speaking after the beep.
Number 6. In this question, you will listen to part of a lecture. You will then be asked to summarize important information from the lecture. After you hear the question, you will have 20 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak.
Now listen to part of a lecture in a psychology class.
I'm sure none of you have any children of your own, but I'd still like to point out some aspects of how children learn. While their minds are such wonderful things, young children can sometimes become quite mistaken when trying to learn new things. In fact, sometimes they generalize too much, while other times they make things too specific. First, let's talk about how they generalize. Children are always curious to know the names of different things. You've probably heard the question, "Mommy, what's that?" hundreds of times if you've spent any time at all around children, and their parents are often quick to answer. But here's a problem. Perhaps a child sees a horse and asks what it is. The parent responds that it's a horse. The child remembers that, but the next time he sees another animal walking on all 4s, he calls that animal a horse too. What's happened? The child has generalized too much and assumed that any animal with 4 legs was a horse. Of course, children can sometimes make words too specific. I have a personal example concerning that. I gave my daughter a doll for her 3rd birthday. She loved that doll a lot and took it with her everywhere. One day, one of her friends visited the house and brought a doll of her own. My daughter asked what it was and was told that it was a doll. She refused to believe it since she thought that the only doll was her own. In fact, it took her months before she would actually acknowledge that anyone besides her had a doll. Talk about being too specific.
Now get ready to answer the question. Using points and examples from the lecture, explain the 2 ways children make mistakes when they are learning. Please begin speaking after the beep.